It's Thursday, October 14th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Burgle Burgle. Let's do this. So, how's that headache going?
Headache's gone. I'm actually feeling pretty good now. In fact, I feel fantastic.
Are you gonna
I actually do feel fantastic. I'm at the 96-hour mark.
Are you going to return, or are you gonna,
Well,
stick with it?
I'm going to continue to consume caffeine on a regular basis. So that don't get me wrong. I very much enjoy caffeine and coffee and tea and everything.
I just drink the decaffeinated varieties. It can't taste any different.
It tastes way different.
How does it taste different?
Because of the processes they use to make it.
Well, I mean, is the caffeine naturally in the cocoa bean?
Yes.
The ultra rare cocoa bean?
The ultra rare cocoa bean.
Okay, so it's not, so they do have to do something to get it out.
Yes, they have to chemically remove it.
Is there, you know what we could invent? We should invent a chemical that like bonds to caffeine and turns into something else so that you can like take a pill, then drink coffee, and it tastes like non-decaffeinated coffee, but it doesn't actually caffeinate.
If I sell you this Hale & Hardy bean counter card, you can get 10 ultra rare cocoa beans.
Are you serious? Buy 10 soups and get a free soup.
Yeah.
I've got a buy 10 burgers, get a free burger from the burger truck. So far, I've got 2.
Oh, man. I wish Good Burger had something like that. I'd get a burger like every 2 weeks.
The thing is, the truck only comes around like once a week, which is probably good. Otherwise, I'd have a burger every day and be fat.
But a lot of people, I posted in the forum.
They got
people
this potato onion rolls.
Have been emailing me and posting in the forum ever since I said I'm temporarily giving up caffeine.
I guess it must be a hot item.
Yeah,
I got a lot. Why we're talking about it again.
I got a lot of Twitter responses and everything. And the biggest question was, "Whoa, you actually did research? Is caffeine hurting me?"
Probably, yeah.
Actually, no.
Everything hurts you.
Caffeine is
water
pretty
is
much
hurting you
in every way. A performance,
the air, oxygen hurts you.
Enhancer. However, once you start consuming more than 300 milligrams of caffeine a day,
for an average body, that's like 2,000 calorie diet.
I mean, if you're a 6-year-old girl, you probably shouldn't be having 300 milligrams of caffeine a day.
Yeah, chocolate bar is probably too much.
But a teaspoonful of sugar is some trouble.
Oh, good, yeah.
But if you consume that much, way too much regularly, within about 2 weeks you develop physical dependence. 48 hours after you stop, crippling headache.
So, I mean, physical dependence just means that your body will hurt you if you stop, right?
So it means that your body has increased the amount of adenosine receptors, which will slow you the fuck down.
Uh-huh.
Because it makes adenosine more effective on you. It slows you the fuck down.
Right.
So when you stop taking caffeine, now you've got, everything else is low again. And any little amount of adenosine, which normally would just make you a normal amount of tired, just knocks you out. You're just done. You can't even think straight.
Uh-huh.
Of course, you can cure that by drinking more caffeine.
Yeah, well, does caffeine like bond to the adenosine receptors and prevent adenosine from doing its magic?
It's an adenosine antagonist, as far as I can tell, which as a result causes the body to upregulate and make more adenosine receptors to counteract the effects.
But I thought you said it.
There is a mystery. Well, this is why you can build up tolerance. If you keep using caffeine too much regularly, then you build up this tolerance. But there's something called the wall. Uh-huh. Once you get to a certain level of tiredness and you have already developed full caffeine tolerance, no amount of increased dosage will have any effect.
Well, because there's no adenosine left? Or
no, they don't
like
know
that?
Why. Because if it were just the adenosine receptors alone, then increasing the dosage of caffeine should cause the effects to resume.
But I mean, it's like you only have a certain number of them total, right?
No, you get more of them.
You can have infinity of them?
Well, I guess you can have, one per neuron or receptor. I don't know.
Yeah, but
I'm not a biologist.
Out.
You've already extended all of my biology knowledge out of me. I don't know anymore.
Okay.
But suffice it to say, I'm glad that I'm past the 48-hour mark and I'm feeling good.
All right.
My goal was to get until the end of the day Friday, and then it's Red Bull time. Because one thing I haven't experienced in many months is the effects of caffeine on a non-tolerance built-up body, which, as I recall, is awesome.
Alrighty. So, you know how we used to, we know, you and I know, that the pseudoephedrine is like the only medicine that will actually help you if you have a congestive, cold, nasal, something.
As a connoisseur of nasal problems.
I mean, like, Fucking regular old cough syrup just doesn't do shit. In fact, scientifically, it doesn't do shit except make your throat feel good.
Scott can vouch for the fact that I have quite a bit of experience with nasal problems, blockages, mucus, that
I don't know
sort
why
of
you just
thing.
don't like drill a hole in your nose. That'll open it right up.
I got 2 holes.
Yeah, but they could use a drill to make them bigger, and then you would be all everything would flow freely.
Regardless, pseudoephedrine is one of the most effective decongestants in the world, and it has very few side effects.
It makes you a little tired.
It's or it makes you pumped up.
Yeah.
Depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, it's an awesome drug. It's like aspirin. It's one of those badass, let's go, let's cure everything drugs.
It just so happens, though, that by a very dangerous chemical process, it is possible to use pseudoephedrine as a key ingredient in the manufacture of crystal meth.
It's actually not that dangerous. It's only dangerous
Well,
because
if there
people
is
don't know how to.
I mean,
It's
it's
dumb
more
enough-
dangerous than distilling like Vodak, right? Which could explode. You know, this is more dangerous than that. So
True.
it's not as dangerous as, say, cesium and water.
I would argue that they're actually similarly dangerous if you know what you're doing. But the thing is, point the first.
You know what you're doing?
People who do meth,
Moves in.
not the smartest. Point the second, if you're smart enough to know good lab practices, you probably don't need to make meth.
Yeah, I know, right? But anyway, so the thing is, in the U.S., they passed a law some years ago where if you want to get any drug that actually has the pseudoephedrine in it, you have to get it over. You have to, sign a paper at the drugstore and write your name down and all this
And
stuff.
and at least in New York, I have to present my ID, and they scan it and they consult with the computer to see how much pseudoephedrine I have bought in the last month and the last year. And in fact, this year,
what ends up happening
I
is
have bought too much. I legally cannot buy more pseudoephedrine. And in fact, if you bought some for me, that is a federal crime.
oh shit. Oh well. But anyway, the thing is that most people don't even realize this, right? Because they just see, oh, it's Mucinex, oh, it's Sudafed, right? And they have different letters like Mucinex D, Mucinex E.
Even worse, the people who buy Sudafed brand Sudafed, which doesn't even have pseudoephedrine in it anymore, at least the stuff on the counter, it's fake. In fact,
Well, the stuff on the shelf, the stuff behind the
Yep.
counter, behind the glass case is the good stuff.
I read many articles, I don't want to try to find them again, basically pointing out that the drug they found to replace pseudoephedrine, that is, legal and not regulated because you can't make meth out of it, doesn't work any better than a placebo. It's bullshit. And also, apparently, the company that made that drug was a huge lobbyist for anti-meth legislation. So there we go.
There you go. But anyway, so CVS, right, one of the biggest, chain drugstores in the United States, perhaps the biggest.
Man, I used to go to Perry Drugs when I was a kid.
Yeah, apparently they didn't properly apply this law in the years of 2007 and 2008, as well as the other drugstores did. So, and they lost a case in court, and they now have to pay close to $78 million to the government for failing to, properly not sell people Sudafed. And apparently they're responsible. They're being held responsible for the spread of crystal meth.
Are you
in
kidding me?
California and somewhere else.
Are you fucking kidding me?
The U.S. attorney in L.A. is basically like, hey, crystal meth spread all over Vegas and Southern California because they didn't follow the law properly.
Huh.
Yeah.
This doesn't quite add up.
More like our police aren't doing a very good job of stopping the crystal meth. Let's blame it on the drugstore and get a bunch of money.
You know what would
wow,
stop
that's
crystal
more
meth?
money than like all the parking tickets we've got all year.
I'll tell you what would
$77
stop
million.
crystal meth right quick. Legalize weed.
I don't know. It would maybe, but maybe not.
Not that many people are doing meth because they want to do meth. They're doing meth because that's what they can get.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think some of those people are doing meth because, but the thing is, if you can get meth, you can get weed.
They're
both illegal.
Scott, you would be surprised. Outside of cities and areas where there's a bunch of hippies or nerds living or like college kids, it's actually really hard to get weed and really easy to
But
get
they're
meth.
talking about Southern California and Las Vegas. Those are easy places to get weed.
Depends on where.
Among the easiest.
If you're
California is the number one easiest.
if you're not on the in,
And Vegas has fucking everything.
if you don't have a dealer, it's not that easy.
Okay.
Anyway,
But you're gonna manufacture meth, but you're not gonna grow a weed plant.
in the very least, I think teenagers who are doing meth would probably have moved to weed instead if weed were legal and meth were still illegal.
Well, they probably never would have started the meth in the first place. The thing is,
Yep.
if you're already on the meth, you're already on.
You're already fucked.
Yeah, you're not gonna switch. It's just
Now, I thought you were going to bring up a much scarier story. I forget what state this was in, but a woman bought a bunch of pseudoephedrine in like February because her husband was sick. And then, like, way later in the year, she was at some other drugstore and she bought some more Sudafed unrelatedly for some other illness that someone had. And she technically went over the limit, but the store didn't notice. She got arrested.
Wow.
Yeah, she didn't realize it. She didn't even know it was a law. The store didn't realize it. They sold it to her. They're not in trouble. She's in trouble. And in fact, the law says it's the duty of the people buying it to make sure they don't break the law.
Wow. It's just bullshit. We need to start some underground pseudoephedrine.
See, we always talk about how the war
thing
on
is,
drugs is so mismanaged.
We'll end up in federal prison, and we're not even doing crystal meth.
We always talk about
what do you think the judge would say if it was shown in court? Yes, we had nothing. We don't care about crystal meth. We were literally just trying to get cold medicine
Scott,
that actually works.
That's basically what the woman who was arrested did, and that defense didn't fly.
Really?
Because the law's the law.
God damn. This is why we, at least in Britain, I mean, it's good. It's a double-edged sword of letting the judges use common sense, right?
Oh, I think there's a way around that.
Because you got a common sense judge who'd be like, well, the law says this, but you know what? I don't agree with that, so.
I think a better way. What if every law had to have a short, like you had a limit? Like
you said this before a thousand times.
Limit, X words, statement of intent. And it's pretty much a viable defense to say, yeah, I broke the law, but the intent does not cover what I did. And then a judge would have to short that out.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
This intent of this law is to stop this flow of crystal meth. Well, I had nothing to do with crystal meth, so even though I broke that law, that doesn't apply to me.
Yep.
Anyway.
However, all that aside, we always talk about how the drug war is so mismanaged and such a disaster in America, and yet usually when we say that, people think...
Maybe that's the Dagon H we need, is the drug war.
I think that is one of the Dagon H's we need.
Yeah.
But people think, oh yeah, because we lock up all these nonviolent offenders and, that whole side of it. But there's this whole other side of it of not only denying a perfectly usable drug like pseudoephedrine to people who really need it, like me, but just the whole mismanagement of the situation regarding people on meth. None of the policies seem to actually prevent the spread of meth.
Japan is even more strict, right, than the U.S., but even like allergy medicines, it's hard to get. But
Japan has a weird bug up their butt about any sort of stimulant, unless it's tobacco or caffeine.
Yeah, they love those. You can do them anywhere, in the store, in the restaurant, whatever. But I wonder if, there's all similar pseudoephedrine regulations in other countries. Like, could I go to France and just get Sudafed? That's for real? No problem?
I don't know.
I hope so.
I really don't.
Probably. I would guess you could.
But on a completely unrelated topic, this is something that came up when I was a kid. I was in middle school, and the local mall was like, we're banning anyone under 18 on the weekends unless they're with their parents.
That never happened to me at the mall near my house, but maybe it is now. I don't know.
Well, it happened near me when I was a kid. It's not a new trend, but in the last few years...
I remember the mall in Poughkeepsie was like that.
Yep. Now even that big mall in Brooklyn is like that, but that mall is crazy. You got to be 21.
What?
Yep.
Whoa, that can't be. How is that legal?
It's perfectly legal.
I mean, if you're 18, you're an adult. So if that was age discrimination, you could file a lawsuit.
They totally get away with it. It's been that way for a while, but they're basically... In the last few years, malls across the country, I just have one article about it, have been jumping over themselves to ban teenagers from the mall if they can all the time, or in the very least, at night and on weekends.
Or when they're unaccompanied. This is only unaccompanied teenagers, right? If I go with my mom, it's okay.
Well, every mall is different. I don't know of any malls that just ban teenagers outright, but that one in Brooklyn bans any group of more than X people, it's a small number, that are under 21. If anyone in the party is under 21, unless their parents are with them.
Well, what if there is like one person like me? Can I walk in with all the kids?
No, because you're not their parent.
I have to be the parent.
That's how a lot of movie theaters will say like, oh yeah, you're the cool 18-year-old kid.
What if they don't have any parents? They have foster parents.
Well, they're fucked, because this is a really sad situation. It's the Atlantic Terminal Mall in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Groups of 5 or more shoppers who are under 21 are forced to disperse and or leave.
Alrighty.
But what amazes me is that all the malls and all the anecdotal evidence, all the quotes are talking about how, I'll summarize, old people are afraid of the kids, and because the kids are in the mall...
Did they ask any kids about this?
Oh yeah, and the kids are like, this is stupid, what the fuck? But some of the other kids are like, I buy everything on Amazon. I just go to the mall to hang out. Yeah. And they're right. It's interesting how right and simultaneously how wrong the mall owners are. Because the mall owner's argument is that old people feel threatened by youth.
True.
And they feel threatened and afraid because these kids are hanging out in the mall.
The guy who owns the mall actually said that?
Yeah.
Okay, so he knows what's up.
Now, they know what's up to a degree.
Okay.
But I think they're making a big mistake here. So they also point out that, yeah, most of the stores in the mall are aimed at a teenage audience, but at the same time, The mall makes all of its real money from the department stores.
That's correct.
And only the old people go to the department stores. They're the anchor. So keeping the old people around and getting rid of the kids will increase sales. And in fact, it did.
Yep.
In all these examples, sales went way up because the old people started coming to the mall again.
Yep.
Now, this is why I'm so convinced that they only understand half the story. So they think, punk kids come and hang out at my mall and don't spend a lot of money. Old people come and spend all their money because this is where they buy all their shit. Therefore, by kicking out the kids, the old people who are afraid of the kids will spend more money in my mall.
Until the old people die.
Yes, and I think when the old people die, malls will die.
It's a great short-term strategy, right? You have all these people will spend more money in your malls, and all the little tiny stores might go out of business in the midterm, and the department stores will make more money in the midterm. But in the long term, the old people will die, and then your mall will be empty, and your whole place will shut down. And that'll be it. And then it'll be Dawn of the Dead situation. All the malls will be cool, empty places for us to play paintball in.
I don't know if they realize it, but seriously, here's one mall. After a month of banning kids,
the thing is, they might have a chance, though. After the old people die, they could be like, young kids can come to the mall again, and then the mall will be like party town. They'll rework the whole mall into party town.
If we could turn malls into like, imagine
after the old people die, we can rework the malls into party towns.
No, it's almost a situation
convention
like the
centers?
Burglaves. You've got a mall, right?
We could turn them into convention centers.
Imagine if every storefront in the mall was like that Greek society center, but it was for a different culture. Like, here's the Jersey Shore room. Here's the Battlestar Galactica room.
We could buy
Here's the board games room.
We could buy a hippie mall and do it.
Yeah.
It has to just be in a really nerdy place.
It'd be an awesome,
but imagine if you had
lounge.
a convention in a mall, right? Each department store, one department store is the dealer's expo hall, and the other one is like the artist alley, and the other one is like a dance party. And then the other one is like a concert hall. And then every store is like a different awesome thing at the convention.
But like sales were up 10% and like people coming to the mall was up 5% after like a month at one of these malls.
Mm-hmm.
Because the quote, generally unruly, horseplay heavy crowds of children concentrated in the food court and movie theater entrances.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what they should do though is like a lot of malls at the movie theater has a door directly to the outside. And they can basically just say, look, kids, come in the movie theater through the outside door. Don't go in the mall.
Except every movie worth seeing just about is rated R, and the movie theaters won't let them in anyway. Which, as another aside, kids, so you know, there is no law saying a movie theater can't sell you a ticket if you're under 18 to an R-rated
No, but
movie.
it is the movie theater just decides, and they're perfectly...
It is.
They're allowed to just decide not to sell you a
But
ticket.
at the same time, one, you should raise the stink, and two, there are movie theaters, I don't know if there still are, but there were when I was a kid, that totally just would sell anyone a ticket to anything.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of R-rated movies when I was like 14.
Yeah, I mean, my parents would just buy tickets to the R-rated movie and give them to us, and then we'd walk in, and they wouldn't question it.
But here's a direct quote from the director of one of these malls. The problem a developer has is if it becomes a hangout for kids, it becomes scary for old customers.
Yep.
Like literally, they're like, old people are afraid of these children.
Yep.
I think malls are going to go away because I realized the last time I went to a mall, there is nothing, absolutely nothing I would ever need from a mall again for the rest of my life.
Well, it helps that I'm in New York City. I can go to a store that's just on the street.
Even in Poughkeepsie, when we lived upstate, when we went to the mall for no reason. Once we realized
we
that
went to the
Amazon-
mall a whole bunch, and then we didn't go to the mall at all.
Yeah, but remember, we went to the mall and we'd like play DDR, and then I realized we never really bought anything.
I got a haircut a few times.
Yeah. But
bought a few things.
Mark
Books.
my words. And there's this whole funny bit about the end where they're like, part of the reason teens are now able to converge en masse at the mall instead of simply running into a friend or two there is because they have never before seen technology like their cell phones and social media like Facebook and Twitter and Foursquare.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, really?
Yeah.
You need a whole paragraph about this?
Anyway, the thing is, right, it's weird is how we have these societal problems because each group that's causing the problem looks out for themselves, right? So the mall is looking out for money, at least short-term money. The old people looking out not to be scared. The young kids have no power, so it doesn't matter what they're looking out for, right?
But young kids don't care.
So
they'll just go
the
do
thing is,
they'll just go do crystal meth because they can't hang out
exactly.
in the mall.
The mall is part of this problem of kids have nothing to do, right? We always say kids don't do drugs, kids don't do bad things, kids don't join gangs.
Wait. To be fair, because we got to qualify that. People will argue against you otherwise. It's not the kids don't have anything to do because as a kid,
Well, at least in New York City they have something to do.
even in bumfuck, kids have plenty to do because I got video games. I had all this crazy
But that's
stuff.
all they have to do.
So hear me out. I have infinite entertainment media at my hands, even if I'm like a punk kid in the middle of nowhere. What I don't have is a place to hang out with my friends where my parents are not there.
Yep. I mean, they have like teen community centers, but those are all policed by churchy people and shit, like, towny people or whatever.
And half those places, like in
And
Rochester.
only dorks go there.
Remember at RIT, there was that big community center with the Pump It Up machine?
Yep.
And that place got shut down because there were like riots inside of it.
Well, that was because they had a dance party there one night, right? And there was like a riot or something.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, it's they take away all the places for kids to go because each individual place is better off getting rid of the kids or shutting
even
down.
in my hometown as a kid, right? It was against
So what do
the
kids
law.
do? They stay home. They get drunk. They throw drunken parties in their
It
backyards.
was against
they
the
do
law
weed.
to be outside at night if you were under 18 where I grew up.
If you would just let the kids make trouble, that was Dennis the Menace trouble, right? Which is easy to shut down, which is why they shut it down. Then they wouldn't make trouble, which is fucking Al Capone trouble, right? So instead, you shut down the Dennis the Menace trouble because you can, and while we have a bunch of kids doing drugs.
I think there's
job.
also a secondary point that people don't seem to realize that a lot of the institutions of our society are not in any way valuable to at least the techno-roddy, like modern generation of people like us.
Yep.
I mean, a mall, to anyone who's even remotely like me culturally, there is fuck all reason to go to a mall unless you're going to the movie theater attached to the mall because that's where the fucking movie theater is.
Yep. It just happens to be there.
And maybe you'll go to the GameStop, but you know what? GameStops are going to go away because they're just pawn shops, and our first sale rights are going away. So you can see what's happening here.
Yeah.
I think within 10 years, more than half the malls in America are going to shut down.
I mean, and the scary thing is some places have like newer malls.
Yeah. But anyway, things of the day. So this video was on College Humor a little while ago, and while it's crazy awesome, the video alone wasn't worth being a thing of the day because there's no context. It's just kind of intense, sort of scary music as a dude is set on fire and literally jumps out through the window of a skyscraper and lands on a mat.
With no parachute.
Yeah.
And a parachute wouldn't help because he was on fire, so the parachute would have also been on fire.
I mean, I watched the video. I'm like, all right, what's this guy going to do? All right, some sort of stunt. So, holy shit.
He actually jumped out a skyscraper window on fire.
On fire.
It wasn't like tricks or cameras or anything. He actually was on fire, actually jumped out the window, actually had no parachute. Parachute actually would not have helped because he was on fire.
So I dug around and I figured out what the deal was.
Was it for a movie?
No, it wasn't for a movie. It was a stuntman, Bob Brown.
Was he promoting himself to get more jobs?
I'm not sure. I believe he's promoting Brand X, a kind of airbag that you can land on, like what he landed on.
Oh, so he's trying to sell stuntman equipment to other movies. So they
Or
can
something like that.
So they can do crazier stunts.
Mostly this article talks about how they did the stunt, who the guy was. He's like 43 too.
All right, so badass dude. They set him on fire in the usual movie way. It was a fake window that he broke through so he wouldn't cut himself up with shards of glass. They had an incredibly big mattress at the bottom with fire extinguishers.
Yep. It's quite a thing to see.
Mm-hmm. So there you have it.
have
My
it.
thing of the day. So, we mentioned Dagon H, at least we referred to it earlier in the show, but we've talked about that before. It was the thing of the day.
We should probably explain briefly again what it is.
Yeah, so Dagon H was the day. What country was it? Norway, maybe?
I don't remember. I think it was Denmark.
It was one of those Northern European countries. And what they did is they had the roads.
Sweden!
It was Sweden, hooray.
I'm sorry, every listener from Scandinavia.
So they had the roads on the left, and they switched them to be on the right.
You know what the H stands for?
It's because they...
Hoger traffic.
Oh, I thought it was because,
The Swedish
you
word
think of
for-
a road and you think of an H, and it's like, aha, we're switching the roads. That's the shape of an H really makes it seem like a road switching.
I can see how you would get that from the picture of the reminder, the logo for Dagon H.
Yep.
But Wikipedia right away, the H stands for Hoger trafik, the Swedish word for right-handed traffic.
Yep. So basically they had the cars drove on the left like England, and now they drive on the right like the U.S.
Like the civilized world.
And they had a day that was Dagon H, which is a day they switched it. And now what I say is when I say something is a Dagon H, like because I referred to a Dagon H for the drug war, is basically in the U.S., they really, really, really don't like sweeping and rapid change. Everything we have to do gradually, right? If we're going to change some rate, we have to change the rate a little bit each day. We can't just change the rate a whole bunch in one day. They got to do everything slowly, right? If we're going to increase something, we got to increase it slowly. So there isn't this rapid, and drastic sweeping change that is, instant. So when I said we should have a Dagon H for the drug war, I said I was meaning we should just turn it off immediately. And instead of being like, okay, well, this year it'll be okay to do pot like this, and next year we'll allow a little more pot. Fuck that, right? So I'm trying to find examples of Dagon H's from around the world.
Drug war.
To show Dagon H's that actually happened already, right?
You could almost argue that
didn't Portugal do a Dagon H for drugs?
Czechoslovakia did for Dagon Hing for driving.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, the thing is, I'm trying to find examples of Dagon H's from around the world to show that, look, if you do it right, you can do a big change that succeeds for a whole country or even a bigger area all at once and do a big fix to the world quickly and effectively, and it's not something to be afraid of.
I think there's a much more fundamental idea here that Dagon H proved that a society as a whole can agree this is worth doing. We're all going to pitch in. I mean, this isn't something that a government could just say, yeah, on this day we're doing it. It just happens. Every single goddamn person in that country had to be ready for it, had to be prepared, had to know about it.
Had to be educated.
Yep. And
the U.S. sort of did it when we cut off the TV broadcast. That was sort of a Dagon H.
Yeah.
We kept delaying it, but we did it. It's done.
We Dagon H'd away alcohol, and then we Dagon H'd it back.
That's true. That was a bad Dagon H. Anyway, so I found about this Dagon H I had not heard of before in Brazil that was very successful. And basically, you can read the article and listen to the NPR audio to get all the details. But here's the story. Brazil had crazy inflation, the kind of inflation they have in Zimbabwe, where eggs are $1 one day and $1.02 the next day, and by the end of the year, they're $1,000 an egg, and it's out of control. And this was like in the 90s. So every politician who came along said, I'm going to fix the inflation, and they tried everything, and nothing worked. And every time they voted for someone new, they were like, okay, what are you going to do to fix the inflation? So eventually what happened was a new president came in, and he had a finance minister. And the finance minister was stupid. He wasn't completely stupid, but he knew. It was one of those situations where he didn't know. But he knew he didn't know. He knew that he did not know about economics.
That is a rare person.
How did he become a finance minister? I don't know. But
don't do what Donnie Don't does.
He knew that he didn't know anything about economics. So he went to the university, and he found the smart guys who were always hanging at the bar talking about how to fix inflation. And he said, you smart academic types, fix inflation. And they fixed inflation with a Dagon H. What they did is they said, okay, starting today, everyone's going to keep using the cruzeiro, the currency of Brazil. But we're going to change all the prices on all the shelves, right, to be in reals, URVs, units of real value, right? So if you went to the store, eggs would be 1 real. Now, when you went to the checkout counter, right, the guy would have a little chart, and the chart would say, yeah, today 1 real is 20 cruzeiros. And because of inflation, the next day, 1 real might be 40 cruzeiros. But the price on the shelf was always 1 real, right? So nothing really changed, just people's perception changed. People began to value money. And the problem with inflation is money loses value. So psychologically, people are now valuing money, or at least they're valuing the real. They're not valuing the cruzeiro, right? Because the real is stable. It stays at 1 all the time. Eggs are always 1 real. Reals must be real. And then on the Dagon H, he said, all right, today we're going to take all the cruzeiros and throw them in the trash, and we're going to distribute reals. And everyone went to the bank or whatever. And, during the whole period, right, they weren't using reals, but their paychecks were listed in reals. And everything was on paper was reals, but they physically used cruzeiros and just exchanged them all the time. On this Dagon H, everyone threw away the cruzeiros and exchanged them for reals. And they printed up the reals and gave them out. And ever since then, Brazil has been just kicking everybody's ass, going up and up and up. Economy is awesome in Brazil ever since they did this. And it's an awesome Dagon H, and I think the rest of the world needs similar Dagon H's.
I think we'll do a show on some Dagon H's in the future. So if you know of any that we do not know of, let us know.
Yeah, I want to make like a whole website like Dagon H's, like plural, and talk about all of them because they're awesome. Especially if you find like a really old historic one, that would be awesome too.
So I suppose briefly we should have the meta moment.
So the next convention we're going to is MagFest.
MagFest
in January.
And then PAX East
in March.
Hotels are live.
Get your PAX East hotel now. Otherwise, you're going to be in a hotel that you're going to need like a shuttle or a taxi or take the transportation
Right?
of some sort
The fuck now. I'm going
to
tell you
get to the
guys
convention center.
right now, if you want the good hotel, it is the Westin Boston Waterfront.
It is connected to the convention center.
It is the closest hotel you can get, and it's cheaper than the Renaissance.
The food might be far away, but the convention center is close, and that's where you're going to be most of the time. So,
However, there is the benefit of, look at Connecticut, the situation where the food and the cheap hotel are way far away from the convention center, which is good.
But you don't really see the difference is at Connecticut, it's okay if you get to the convention a little late. You're not in a rush. But at PAX, you don't want to fucking miss 1 minute at PAX. So you want to be close.
Don't want to close my eyes. Anyway, the book club book is World War Z.
By Max Brooks. It's about zombies. You indirectly asked for it.
Independently, I saw
You're getting it.
the movie or the TV trailer poster things and everything for Walking Dead, the series.
Yeah, I mean, I knew they were making it, and I saw that there was promotional stuff
It's
for
actually
it
a good poster.
at
of
the
like,
image booth at the Comic-Con.
it's like the freeway all shut down, like all the disaster, and just one guy walking toward the city on the empty road on a horse.
Yep. Additional meta, you should follow Geeknights on Twitter, and it'll tell you about old episodes and also new episodes.
Yep, we're tweeting out random episodes
And
every day.
You should come to the forum at forum.frontrowcrew.com.
Our forum's pretty rocking.
You should also just go to frontrowcrew.com and, because that's the website for this podcast. And you should go to it instead of just looking at iTunes and never going to our website, jerk.
Yeah, there's stuff on the website.
Yeah, jerks.
Not
Don't
that
go there.
much.
There's news there and shit, but there's going to be more there soon. A lot.
It's coming.
Okay.
So, Scott, something happened not that long ago.
Yeah, so a week from yesterday, so 8 days ago on Wednesday, right? I came home from work, and it was, I was planning to do a Scott's box because the box was arriving that day. So, of course, it was after a podcast. So I was actually going to do Scott's box the next day. I didn't end up doing it until yesterday, so it was delayed like a whole week. And then the recording on Ustream totally failed. I'm sorry. Nothing I could do about that. It was their fault. And I get home, and I go to my front door, and on the floor is Scott's box. So I pick it up, and then I look to go put my key in the door, and I notice that right near the handle for my door, there is significant physical damage to my door. And I push the door without even putting the key in, and it just opens. And I'm like, well, as soon as I saw the damage, I was like, all right, I got burgled. Let's see what's missing. And I opened the door, and they took my TV and my Xbox and my Wii. Those are the obvious missing things right away.
I just can't believe you called me and you're like, I got robbed. I'm like, what do you mean you got robbed?
Apparently, I found out even more recently the guy upstairs also got robbed, but no one else.
Oh.
Or at least he got broken into. He just wrote a note. I don't know if what was taken or anything. It doesn't matter.
Maybe he robbed you. Just cover story.
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure what it was is there was this guy, you know those guys who go on the street and they're like from Greenpeace or whatever? This guy was from UN something something, and they're always trying to get you to give money to some charity or something, and they have those clipboards full of paper, and they're really annoying and pushy.
Yep.
There was a guy
I just
like
pretend
that.
I don't speak English at this point.
There
I'm
was
just
a
like,
guy.
"Hey?"
There was a guy like that in our building walking around, and I was,
Yeah, that seems suspicious.
how
the
did
hell
he get
in?
into the building?
I
right?
mean, your building's locked as fuck. My building is a door, man. You can't, people can't just walk in.
Yeah, but anyway, he was in the building the previous night, and I basically, was like, screw you, go away. So maybe he was like, aha, that guy's a jerk who won't give to the poor flooded people in Pakistan. It's okay to rob him. But, whatever.
See, I think because it seems obvious that if I were going to rob a little apartment building like that, I would send someone in with some, nice excuse who would never go back to the place to basically case it out and see whoever has the most expensive TVs, rob them and no one else.
Yeah, probably. The thing is, they didn't take any of my computers. They didn't take out, there was a whole bunch of valuable things they didn't take that they could have taken.
They're probably in a hurry.
I don't know. They're in a hurry, but they took a TV.
They stole your stinky blanket.
Yeah, it's like after when the police showed up pretty quickly and then the detectives and then the evidence people showed up at 2 a.m. and they didn't find anything. But the thing is like, as time went on, I discovered more missing things. They took my DS and a whole thing full of games. And actually, I was lucky that Emily took a bunch of my DS games from me, so they didn't take as many as they would have otherwise taken.
Random aside, so after you got robbed, I realized I didn't know where my DS was. I hadn't seen it in months.
You found it?
I found it today. It was rainy, right? I put on my trench coat that was...
it's in the trench coat.
Yeah, and I feel something heavy in the pocket. I'm like, what the fuck? And there's my DS. Still on.
On?
Suspended. I
Wow.
opened it, and there's Advance Wars going.
Wow. How long was it in there?
Like 2 months.
Whoa. Anyway, but yeah, it's weird. It's like they took the HDMI cables, but they didn't take the Wii cable, right? And then, right, like a day later, they actually started spending my Xbox monies.
That I can't believe. This is one thing that bothers me. I mean, I don't care, because you don't care if the guy gets caught or not because you got insurance.
It doesn't yet. Whether the guy is caught makes no difference in my life whatsoever.
But
unless he's planning a repeat.
But I want him caught for, obviously social justice reasons.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference.
It does in the long run. I mean, people who get away with crimes are more likely to commit more crimes.
Is that true?
Probably.
Anyway.
But that aside,
recidivism is pretty high.
The fact that he bought shit with your Xbox, as an IT professional, there is nothing between you, the police, and knowing where the fuck the dude is, but bureaucracy from Microsoft.
Yeah, it's like Microsoft, I called the detective and I called Microsoft, and Microsoft, they're doing that whole thing, I guess, where they find the IP and then they subpoena the ISP, and, I guess they're going to do that thing that you always hear about them doing. So,
yeah.
Whatever.
I look forward to them, because the dude must not be that smart. Or he must have already sold the Xbox.
If he was smart, why didn't he take my computers? Why did he not take the cable for the Wii?
Because your computers are weird and custom and thus difficult to fence.
Maybe.
Yeah, he took very generic stuff that's easy to resell.
But he didn't want to resell it all because he didn't resell the Xbox. He used it. Or maybe he sold it to somebody.
Yeah, maybe he did resell it, which is fine, because you know what? If they find the Xbox and it isn't the thief, guy still loses the Xbox and doesn't get any money back.
That's true. But your Utena DVD was in the Xbox.
I know. I want you to find the goddamn Xbox.
The thing is, Utena's getting re-released. So
I know, but that was I bought that, all 13 episodes of season 1 on 2 discs. I bought that back when money was not something I had a lot of.
I mean, the only real major loss is there were Pokemons that I had in Pokemon Red back in the day that I traded up and traded up and traded up were in the Pokemon Diamond.
Ah, shit.
But it's really? I'm going to get upset about
if Nintendo were smart and nice and had the Pokemon MMO and the Pokemon
that
Cloud.
Wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pokemon Cloud. My Pokemon are my Pokemon forever.
That's right. Stupid Nintendo. They're failing at all internets.
There's a reason we did a whole panel at PAX on why Nintendo is full of assholes.
I mean, there's not, really much to say about getting burgled because it's not like it was an adventure where I was there and fought them with it or anything. But I did think about, what if I had to fight them? And I realized the knife would have been a bad idea because more likely to hurt myself and also get blood everywhere if I actually succeed,
Large, weird bludgeoning instruments, like a steel folding chair, just kind of whipped at someone, will take them out enough
but
to then
also,
go punch
they
them in the
obviously
balls.
broke in with a crowbar, so they would have had a crowbar.
Anyone who tries to wield a crowbar is not going to do that well.
You think so?
Against a baseball bat?
Oh, I don't have a baseball bat.
You don't have a baseball bat?
No, but I bought a rolling pin recently, which I bought it to I bought it to roll, not to hit. And I do have the honing steel that goes with the knives.
That'll hurt someone.
That's a pretty good whacking stick, right?
I would say taser, but they're illegal in New York.
Are they really?
Yeah. Which sucks.
Yeah, I mean, there's, pretty much, here's I'm going to get, since there's not much adventure story to tell, right? I got robbed, I'm buying new shit, I have insurance, end of story, right? Here's my advice for what you should do pre and post getting robbed to make out well, right? Number 1, renter's insurance is usually I'm anti-insurance, right? And because insurance is usually a rip, right? I mean, by definition, it's gambling and the house always wins. But renter's insurance is actually, even though the house always wins, the bet is so low. It's like $100 and something for a whole year.
Homeowner's insurance, the value of saving you a pain in the ass and a bunch of money.
It's a losing bet, right? Odds are you're gonna lose that money. But it's such a small amount of money, and the potential payoff is so big. It's like, imagine if there was a lottery, right? Now, the lottery is a losing bet because it's $1. I mean, you're only spending $1, and there's a multi-million possible payoff. But the odds of winning are 1 in a billion almost. So it's really bad idea.
But what if the lottery ticket was a tenth of a cent?
Yeah, the lottery ticket's basically $100. The payoff is tens of thousands, possibly, right? But the odds of winning are 1 in, thousands. So it's still a losing bet, but it's such a small bet with a big payoff, and the odds aren't all that bad. It's they're okay, better odds.
Every
Not
year,
good, but okay-ish.
Every year, I consider and then decide wisely not to buy one of those $1,000 raffle tickets for the Lamborghini.
Yeah, you mean the Maseratis and whatever.
There's only 400 tickets. I actually got a decent chance of winning.
Real decent.
Yeah.
But you're probably throwing away $1,000.
Thing is, if I win it, I'm fucked.
You sell it immediately.
Yeah, but then that's on my income tax.
I think, but you can take half. So if it's a $200,000 car, you get $100,000.
Yep, which wouldn't be that bad.
But you spent $1,000, and you had a 1 in 400 chance of multiplying the money by 100.
I'd really want to keep it.
A roulette table is a better idea.
I'd really want to keep it, but insurance alone would cost more than my apartment.
That's right. Anyway, So here's my advice, right? Renters insurance or homeowners insurance or whatever is actually a good idea, depending where you live, right? If I lived in the boonies, when I was in Beacon, I didn't buy the renters insurance. But in New York City, I bought the renters insurance. It was so cheap, right? Second thing, right? It's good to buy everything on the internet because that renter's insurance, they're going to want you. It's not necessary, but they're going to want you and they'll like it if you can prove you actually own the stuff. So I was like, here's the printouts of all these invoices from Amazon. I own it. I bought it. Here, proof. You don't have to save receipts in a folder or anything stupid like that, right? Like you did in the olden days. You can throw your receipts all away because it's all recorded on the internet in stone for all eternity. I could show you everything I've ever bought on Amazon ever. It's all there, right? So I owned it. Screw you. Other advice, and I've told people before, I've known this advice already. You should use a credit card for everything in your entire life that you possibly can.
Yep.
There's no reason not to use a credit card, right?
Aside from all the benefits of the credit card, it's a huge buffer between your money and your stuff.
Right, so here are the reasons to use a credit card that we already knew, right? Reason number one, it's easy. You don't have to carry cash. If someone steals it, you just change the number. It's really safe, right? Reason number two, increased liquidity, right? You can keep your cash till the end of the month. And then you're totally, so if any emergency happens, you actually have more money on hand. It's a safer financial bet.
Yep.
It's like a free temporary no interest loan that's 30 days. And you're always pay it off every month. If you don't pay it off every month, you're a moron or it was an emergency, which is justified. Another reason to use a credit card for absolutely everything is it's really easy to stop payment or dispute a payment.
Yep. Do you know how many times someone's given me trouble and I'm just like, I'll charge back the credit card.
Yeah, we're not just talking about...
I'll call him right the fuck
We're
now.
not just talking about fraud. We're talking about just people who are a jerk, right? If I call the plumber and I pay him with my credit card and then the plumber doesn't do a good job, I'll just unpay the plumber. Just take the money right back. If I paid him with cash, that's a lot harder to do, isn't it?
Yep.
But with the credit card, yoink. Debit, it's even harder to do. But credit card, yoink. Right? People think credit cards are evil. They're only evil to businesses. They're awesome for you swiping the card, all right, in every single way. Now, here are additional reasons to use a credit card for absolutely everything in your entire life that we didn't already know. And this is just two things that I learned about my American Express card, but many other credit cards have similar things. Look up your credit card policy information, whatever. Here is two things about American Express card, the one I have I didn't know. Number one, apparently if I buy something that has a manufacturer's warranty, it's automatically extended. American Express just extends it. So if I have something that say has a 90-day warranty and it breaks in the 100th day, I just call American Express. They got covered. It's all good, right? It's as if the warranty was longer. Just got to call the credit card company instead of the manufacturer first or whatever. And it's just taken care of. Something else I learned. Let's say I buy something and within 90 days, it's lost and or stolen. So I buy a DS and 50 days later, I lose it. Oh, shit. American Express just buys me a new one. Boom. Boop, 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 boop. Just because I used my credit card, right? That's all you got to do. Nothing else is going to give you that kind of benefit. And this doesn't even count, right? I didn't even bother to mention, the default credit card benefits of getting miles or points or whatever the fuck. Because those are really insignificant, right? I get cash back. It's barely any cash back. It's a few hundred a year, but it's more than nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole miles and stuff. It is a big scam. You're getting almost no points. It's such a small fraction.
Also, when you're traveling...
But it's more than zero. It's free stuff.
When you're traveling overseas, using your credit card gets you the best exchange rate of the day.
That's right. So you don't have to worry about hunting around the different exchange rate places.
Some crappy credit cards have fees, but mine don't, so...
Yeah, mine doesn't either. So yeah, you should use a credit card for absolutely everything, and you should buy as much as you possibly can. That's, at least durable goods that are going to get stolen online. So you have records automatically, all right? Here's some more advice. If you have expensive things, right, like Xboxes and TVs or whatever, there's not really much you can do to, secure your house. Even if you're crazy with a bunch of locks and stuff, anyone can break into your house if they really want to. I can go to Home Depot and buy a saw that'll drill a hole in your door and put my arm right through and open your door from the inside with my hand.
That's when the auto shotgun takes you out. And the dags.
If you got one.
And the dags.
If you got them, right? But if you don't got those, right, no number of, even, the strongest, craziest locks is going to save you. They're those dudes who open bank vaults with their ear, right, and a few tools. In a matter of minutes, right? So nothing you can do to your house is going to keep someone out who really wants to get in. As the locksmith said, locks keep honest people honest, right? That's pretty much all they do.
They also keep hobos out.
They keep hobos out and they keep stupid people out, but they're not going to keep a determined burglar out, right? If you have something really good.
Of course, in your case, it was just crowbar.
It was just crowbar, right? But, that's not to say that a crowbar defense mechanism would have actually sufficed. They might have gotten in. So there were any of 100 other ways to get in. Climbing up to the balcony, breaking the glass, right? But anyway, what can you do to actually help out? Well, if I had like a camera, it actually probably would have helped. It wouldn't have helped keep them out or save my stuff, but the person would probably be in jail now, right? So getting one of those like babysit, if you're really worried about it, it's pretty cheap to get a webcam and a little recording thing. And, it's like, okay, and it could actually prove useful in many other cases, even when it's not burglars, right? You can make sure that like the superintendent isn't watching TV in your apartment on the off days, if you care.
Or
you can, if you have friends over for a party,
set up the apartment black box where you just, you have your cameras.
You're gonna catch like some YouTube moments that are gonna be totally awesome.
Or they'll catch, the last 48 hours, and then you have to go back and say like, keep whatever's good. Because then anytime...
you could even hook it up to a motion detector, so it only records when there's motion.
But then if anything weird happens, either good, bad, or awesome, you've got a record. I've thought about setting up something like that in our apartment because we have a lot of parties. But what we don't have anymore, because James, who is like the best photographer in the group, at least in terms of being good at taking pictures of everyone.
Actually using the camera.
Yes. Yeah. It's still in Texas.
Well, and, it's not like, what's his name comes over enough.
So we don't have enough photos of us hanging out in parties. But if I had cameras just filming the whole apartment all the time.
What's Tall John's name?
John?
No,
John.
Who lives with Yuko. What's his last name?
I don't know anyone's last names.
The tall guy who lives with Yuko and
John Kelly.
John Kelly, God damn it. Yes. It was like the tall John who takes photos all the time.
You're like, what's Tall John's name? I'm like, Tall John?
No. John Kelly. He's the only other person who actually takes photos, but he really knows what he's doing too.
Yeah, he took a really good picture of me in that linen suit.
Anyway, so if you're worried about setting up a camera because you feel paranoid about it, don't feel paranoid. It's totally, why not? Just one is all you need.
That's one of the DIY projects I was thinking about doing, is rigging cameras around the apartment that I can use for parties.
You should get some. Like, if my computer was stolen, it's not really a big deal, right? And they didn't take them, but if they did, it's not that big a deal because all my important stuff is in the cloud and on USB sticks and stuff like that. And my laptop, I'm good, right? I got SSH keys. Even though the private keys are on the computer, they need a password to unlock the key, so it's not doing them any good, right? But I do have a lot of media, MP3s on the hard drives, and I'd have to re-download them if it was stolen. So if you're worried about that, external hard drives, hide them somewhere under a bed or some shit like that. I'm probably going to get one just mostly because I'm going to hook it up to the camera.
Actually, as a kid, especially in high school, not that it ever was necessary or helped me out in any way, but I always kept a tiny flash drive, or back then even, like way back, floppies with whatever I thought would be important or incriminating or whatever, and I hid it in the cold air return.
Yeah.
I think those floppies might still be there because I didn't take them when we moved.
Yeah. Another advice, right? Those Kensington locks, those little basically the thing that lets you hook up a steel cable to your computer to tie it down to the desk or the furniture or whatever. They're pretty much useless because someone just has a clipper of any kind can cut right through that cable, no problem. But if you had enough of them, right, it might slow down or deter, a robber. Like if your Xbox was tied to the TV and was tied to the Wii and was tied to a computer and was wrapped around like a steam pipe or something like that. They're probably just going to go, fuck. They didn't bring a clipper. They brought a crowbar. So what the fuck are they going to do?
Hey, you got to watch out. I remember learning this from a cop friend when I was a kid, because my dad's a fireman. So thieves who fail or run into difficulty
might start breaking stuff.
Will just trash the place before they go.
Yep. That is also quite a possibility that they will just break stuff. But in some ways, breaking stuff is good and bad, right? Insurance still covers breaking stuff, right? But breaking stuff is almost more annoying because you have a bigger cleanup. I had almost no cleanup because they just took stuff cleanly, But they also, the cops, right? They were like, oh, did they drink a soda? Did they do anything? Because that's how they can find DNA evidence and fingerprint evidence. A lot of people apparently are really stupid and they drink a glass of water or they sit down and watch the game. I mean, you've seen it on YouTube, right? All these people, they rob someplace and they stop to play Wii bowling.
My favorite is the guy who fell through the ceiling who was locked.
Yeah, there was just a story about a guy today who got busted because he robbed a place and he Wii bowled for an hour and got caught. And he went to jail for X time, right? He just got sentenced recently. So yeah, watch out for stuff like that.
Of course, you can't go too far because I remember there's an episode of Dragnet when I was a kid, and it was this like fancy clothing store that got knocked off. And the Dragnet guys are like, all right, we're going to help you, deal with thieves to make it more difficult for thieves to get you in the future. And he goes to the rack of clothes, and they're all racked on hangers facing the same way. And he's like, look how easy it is for a thief to just grab all these clothes. You should alternate all your hangers.
And make it really annoying for the customers.
Yeah, to make it really impossible.
Yeah, notice how I
live.
haven't suggested you do anything that actually makes your life inconvenient, right? I mean, tying all your stuff down with cables basically costs you some bucks, and you do it once and then you just leave it that way because you don't move your stuff around that much.
Well, with the TV, like I didn't set it up, but I have some anchors for my TV because it's a big TV. If it's on a stand, you can basically anchor it to the wall so that if someone bumps into it, there's no way they can knock it over.
That's a good idea. Because TV falling over is perhaps infinitely more likely than it being robbed, and if one device can stop both of those, that's a good device.
I bumped into my TV once, and there's this moment.
It wobbled?
It wobbled. I was worried the stand was going to break.
Yeah.
I just stared at it like, fuck, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, adding more locks to your door does make your life more inconvenient, right? Now you've got to get all these different keys and unlock them all, it's a pain in the ass. But having a camera in your house that is just there, you set it up once and that's it. It just doesn't bother you in your life at all. Maybe you get some sex tapes out of it. Who knows? It could be good times. But yeah, other than that, I mean, really, if you show up at your house, you come home and it's burgled, don't touch stuff, especially if it looks like it doesn't belong to you, because the evidence people are going to want to be grabbing that before you grab that. And just call the police immediately and chill, and just do whatever they say.
All right.
That's it. It's not really... could have been worse.
Maybe it was
could have been better.
Maybe it was one of those listeners who had your phone number and figured out where you lived. And
I mean, anyone on the internet knows all that stuff, right? And if it's someone on the internet who knows me, who robbed me, right? They're a jerk.
Well, what we were thinking, because Adam, we were waiting to see. It'd be funny if the guy had logged in again with your Xbox profile, because he was like, "Why don't I just message him and be like, hey man, I got the weed. You want to meet me to get it?" Or, hey, man, do you remember my credit card number? I asked you to buy that thing, and just try to, string them along.
Yeah. I mean, my credit card number was stored in the Xbox, but you can't actually get it, right? So you can buy stuff using the card that's for the Xbox, like games and downloads or avatar shit.
Yep.
But you can't actually, use my credit card to buy stuff on Amazon or whatever. There's no help.
Well, apparently they bought some shitty Xbox games.
They bought 2 Human and Fight Night something and 2 other crappy games.
Nah.
And then Microsoft gave my money back, so whatever.
All right.
It's all good. Nintendo wasn't much help. I basically had to go get a new Wii before they'll help me.
So we've had...
But I mean, they couldn't really add any points to my Nintendo without my credit card. What they could do, though, is spend the points that were already on there. I had some points, so they're going to buy a virtual console game I didn't want.
So we've had Burgle Burgle, Boggle Boggle, and Burgle Burgle.
Yep.
What's next?
Bungle Bungle.
Maybe Bugle?
Well, there is an anime called Zabungle.
There's also
which is a
rated
robot show.
Bungling Bay.
Okay.
You don't remember that game?
No.
Really?
No.
You don't remember Bungling Bay?
No idea.
Wow. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night. Well, nowadays... the old man got all the money. And the young man ain't got nothing in the world these days.